Fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort flow inside you. Come this far, you understand.
Hi, welcome to Healing Outside the Box. Tonight is our 163rd show. And I am Rosemary Lachance, an energy healer and spiritual teacher.
Hi, and I'm Dina, Scungio, student of spirituality.
And we welcome to the Life Explained series, which will give you food for thought information about spirituality based on the teachings of Hans Wilhelm from his website, www.lifeexplained.com. We will play one or two different DVDs on each show and then have dialogue about it. We encourage you to call or send emails to me or write letters to NHTV asking your questions about the show. We will answer them on our show or privately if you prefer. This is not a religious show, and no matter what religion or belief you follow, the information we give you will only enhance your beliefs. We do not try to convince you of anything. This series is taped and will be shown in your area on your local cable network. If you have a group that you think would be interested in what we have to offer, we are available to come to your group to teach from this Life Explained series.
To find out what shows are playing in your area and when they are playing, please contact the public service channel in your town, or you can visit Rosemary's website where you will find a wealth of information. We will give you the contact information at the end of the show, and your website is www.rosemarylachance.com. And please like our show on Facebook under Healing Outside the Box, where you can learn about the show and see pictures of our past guests and ask questions or leave a comment or see shows upcoming as well. Enjoy the show.
Okay, tonight, surprise, surprise, we have with us again Hans Wilhelm,
Yay.
author and illustrator, and the creator of the Life Explained series. Oh, I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, Rosemary, thank you. Thank you, Dina. Thank you for inviting me. I love to come back here.
Let me just give you just a little brief bio on Hans. Hans was born in Germany, started his writing and illustrating career when he came to the United States. He has been a student of many of the spiritual paths for 50 years. You're not that old.
I
No.
am.
In his YouTube videos,
it well?
he invites the viewers to question and explore spirituality and their own relationship to the universe. Okay, so the title of the show tonight is Suicide and Loneliness, and this is part 8 of the Life Explained series. And now, in the control room, they're going to play the first DVD titled Loneliness, and after it's finished, we'll have our conversation about it. Okay, so as soon as they're ready, it will come up.
Tell them to turn it up in here so we can hear it.
Hi, I'm Hans Wilhelm. And in this
We can't hear
video,
it in
in
here.
the Life Explained series, I would like to talk about loneliness. I think we all have felt it at one time or another, irrespective whether we were physically alone or in a relationship or in a big crowd. Loneliness can overcome us anywhere. Now, some people may think that loneliness is something negative. Not necessarily so if we look at the true purpose of loneliness. Loneliness is basically a signal. Just like hunger or thirst are signaling us to take care of our physical body, so does loneliness signal us to take care of our spiritual body, of our soul. Now let's have a look at a typical example.
Human beings always have felt lonely. But ever since the Industrial Revolution, men developed a certain craving for individual independence. No more living in close-knitted tribes or in extended families. Everybody wanted his or her very own place to live, like a house or an apartment. And that is how many of us are living now, in our own self-created little castle. And that can be very lonely. And as the French philosopher Pascal observed, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. No wonder we are quickly searching for distractions when we are alone. Out comes our cell phone and we check our email, text messages, Facebook and so on. And with our computer or TV we consume videos, porn or anything to keep our mind distracted. Or we run into the open arms of the refrigerator for another pint of ice cream. Or excessive work. drugs, alcohol, indiscriminate sexual encounters, and anything that takes our mind off the fact that we feel deep down lonely. But nothing really works, for as long as we look outside of ourselves, the feeling of loneliness persists. Ever since we entered as a soul this three-dimensional reality, we have mourned our separation from source energy, the Father-Mother God, and also the separation from other people. That is the basis of our loneliness. But is it really true? Are we separated? Remember, we are spiritual beings, or souls, that have incarnated into a physical body. Yes, and this body is a soul. And that soul is pure magnificence, an extension of divinity, a multidimensional entity that deep down knows it is not alone here. As a soul, we have what is generally called a higher mind, also called our oversoul. I symbolically draw it here, as it is difficult for me to place a multidimensional quality into a 3D limitation. This higher mind is our direct connection to source energy, to God, to love. It is in total union with God. The higher self is like a best friend, embracing us with unconditional love, always available for guidance and solace. Then there are our guardian angels. At least one of them is always by our side and protect us. It may actually have been an impulse by your guardian angel that made you click on this particular video. Think about it. And if you want to know more about guardian angels, you may want to watch my short video on this topic. Now, these angels are our helper set. They guide us via intuition and let us know whether to turn right or left. They stand by our side right now, and it doesn't really matter if you believe in them or not. They are here. And then here, in the fourth chakra or energy center, right next to the heart, we have what is generally called the Christ spark that connects us directly to the most powerful Christ of God energy. This energy can help us to open our heart and is particularly powerful for all forms of healing. In Christian teachings, Christ is called the Great Comforter, who wants to help us overcome karma and bring us back home to the pure heavens. And finally, we are multidimensional beings, which means that we are connected with everything and everyone. There is and never was a separation. Separation is an illusion. Strictly speaking, our feeling of loneliness is a signal that we have fallen for the illusion of separation, and our magnificent entourage is here to guide us back to God. Right now, God is reaching out to us and asks us to take His hand and never let it go. It is the return of the prodigal son. It is a time of celebration because we are ready to come home. We can do this via meditation or a truly heartfelt prayer. And if we want to, we can even add some soft music. In our meditation or prayer, we open our heart to the stream of love for solace and guidance. Feeling embraced by the stream of light and love and our wonderful entourage. Together they wash away the sadness, the tears, and allow joy to enter where there has only been hollowness so far. We fill ourselves with this love. We soak it in. And if you can't find this deep connection in your prayer or meditation, ask your helpers surrounding you right now to guide you and help you. This reconnection with God, divinity, or love is what it is all about. All our guilts, our judgments, our anxieties have separated us from God and closed us off from divine love and love from others. It is now time to heal. But as you sit there quietly and feel that warm, fuzzy feeling, you may also receive thoughts or images that show you how you can create healthy and rewarding relationships with others in your life. They are often simple, practical steps one could do right now, like a phone call or a visit, a thank you note to somebody, an offering of help, and many other ways. You may even be prompted to Google the word loneliness and look at all the many websites that offer practical steps to overcome loneliness. Many or most of them will not seem right for you. But there may be one or two suggestions that may actually sound kind of fun to you. You may feel a tingling of excitement as you read the suggestion and think about it. This is a sign from your higher self or guardian angel guiding you into that direction. Follow that excitement and follow that suggestion, but do it without any specific expectations of the outcome. Just follow it, as it may bring you to the next step and then to the next step. Every time we follow our excitement, we follow our true nature. That is what is commonly called follow your bliss. It is one of the tools that our magnificent entourage uses to steer us out of our feeling of loneliness.
In conclusion, I like to repeat, loneliness is a signal telling us to reconnect with source energy again, to grasp God's hand and open ourselves up to the inner guidance. And with daily practice, this bond becomes stronger and stronger. Please feel free to share this video with anybody whom you think may be interested in it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that was very interesting, wasn't it?
That was very interesting.
I know we all do feel that loneliness, terrible loneliness, especially those of us without, family around, those of us that's lost family, the elderly people. Mary, it's a tough thing. It really is.
1 out of 3 person over 45 has a chronic loneliness feeling in this country.
Really?
That's quite a lot, yeah.
Wow.
That is.
Wow.
That really is.
Well, when you think of it, like when you go to New York City and you see all the high-rises and they're small little places and there's probably a lot of people who live alone in there. And I mean, I've had people call the ambulance for vague problems, and I think 9 times out of 10 it's because they're lonely, especially the elderly. They just get lonely. They just want someone to, come and greet them, put a hand on their back, their shoulder, make them feel like they're not so alone.
It's a very difficult state to be in, but as I said in this video, loneliness is not negative. It is like everything negative and positive. It's just also a guidance for us to reconnect, basically saying, we're on the wrong track here. We are into self-sorrow or whatever it is, and we have to reconnect, of course, initially to God, and we can also do it by reconnecting through others, people and so on, and find God there and reconnect it there. But it is just a nice signal saying, look, now you are off track and let's go back. So it's a helpful, positive thing. Only when we get stuck in it, then it becomes very, very negative. But it is always a question of a frame of mind, of what we think and how we feel about everything around us. And very often we feel lonely because we are thinking too much of other people. We are in their business, not in our business.
Really?
We are thinking too much of other people, and that gives us the illusion of distance. And one possible, wonderful way, usually it would work, is to learn to become more present. The moment we are present, the loneliness or the thoughts of loneliness usually disappear for the most part.
You mean present, meaning what? Living in...
Being present, in your way, what you are doing, like really focusing. When you write a letter, focusing on your letter or what you are doing, or when you're cooking, focusing on the actual what you are doing, the mindfulness. Mindfulness is a typical way to eliminate the feeling of loneliness for a long time. As long as you're mindful, you're not lonely, because lonely means also comparing you always with something. I should be with somebody, I should be there, why aren't they here? But if I am concentrating on cooking, there is no comparison. So we are really, by learning mindfulness, or being the here and now, we can do a great step forward to get out of this rut of loneliness, because we can get lost in it and we can start feeling sorry for ourselves. And one of the most difficult things to ever get out of is self-pity.
Yeah.
The loneliness and self-pity often go hand in hand. And to get out of it is very, very difficult.
It is.
To feel sorry, poor me, nobody loves me, etc., etc. And it's easy to get into that rut.
That's true.
It is.
But of course, everybody, as I said in the video, we are surrounded by helpers. We just have to believe, if we want to believe in them, and they are there to guide us. And the other important thing, I think, is also to realize 2 other things. First of all, we think we need to be mated. We have to be married or whatever it is. I got a lot of letters from single people. But
the statistic clearly says that the majority of households today are single households.
Really?
Yeah, that is the majority, so I think, for the last 2 years. So the norm is being single. The norm is not
Really?
being married
Oh, I
in
didn't
the
know
household. Yeah. So that pressure, you can't forget about it.
Okay.
You are the majority if you live on your own.
Wow.
I think the intolerance levels are higher than they used to be as well. I think people choose more to live alone because the patience and the tolerance is not what it used to be.
To live with another
Live with
person.
another
To live
person.
with another person, to deal with another person, to be calm. Like nobody you meet is ever going to have every single quality that you want. So you have to learn to live with whatever it is that annoys you about them, just as they have to learn to live with it. If you love somebody, those little things aren't going to matter. If you truly love somebody with all your heart, if you're not just with them because you don't want to be alone, or you whatever reason you can come up with other than love, because it seems like 80% of the people out there don't fall in love because of true love. They fall in love because they're attracted to somebody.
They
and
fall into lust.
Yeah, and they
That's
don't
what they
take
fall
time
into,
to figure
right?
out
Well,
what they...
talking for yourself. Not necessarily only lust, but it's usually a trading. You're right.
Yeah.
We see something the other person has, and we want it, and in return we give something. And this works well for as long as I get what she gives me, and so on. But one day, one of them suddenly stops giving it, and then we have got the fight. But this is not love, as you say. This is trading. This
Yes.
is ordinary trading. Loving somebody not because I love you because you are handsome, you are rich, or whatever it is, or beautiful, or whatever. That is not love. That is conditional love, and that is trading. You love somebody because of because he or she is who she is.
Right. And you can grow together as well, I
You
think
can
is
grow
important.
together.
I
Yeah.
always say become friends, and if you can become really best friends, then marry each other. That makes the best
Yeah,
marriages.
friends
yeah.
are less trading, but in relationships
Yeah.
is very often this trading, this give me and so on. This is why people fall in love when we say the opposites fall in love and so on.
Somebody asked me about that.
Yeah.
Why do they say opposites attract?
Because we think that person can fill that part which I believe is lacking in me, and vice versa. So we have this person, he or she fills that hole, and it's wonderful for the wedding night and a few weeks later. And then suddenly they don't give it anymore, and then, wow, I really made a bad bargain here, because it wasn't love, it was bargaining.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. Man, really love really means if your partner suddenly decides to go with another person, you would say, good for you. That is love. Well, who can do that?
Yeah.
I don't want to be tested on that either. But
You're
really,
right.
if you really want the
Just
good for the other
leave your
person,
stuff
whatever
here.
that is love.
I know that's real. That's a love that we don't have to. We don't really have a lot of that kind of love here.
No, but we can learn it.
We can,
We can learn it.
We
It is
can.
there. We don't really need another person's love.
I know.
We are here. We are here. We are ourselves the partner we have been waiting for, as Byron Katie always said it. We are the person we are waiting for.
Yeah, we are.
We have to fall in love with ourselves, not in a totally self-ego love, but we really must appreciate ourselves. And when you say earlier that find it difficult, many people find it difficult to live with somebody because the intolerance is so high. It's the intolerance with themselves. They do not like themselves.
Right.
Once you like yourself, you're pretty easy to get on with most people. But if you don't like yourself, you obviously one doesn't like other people then either. And that's where the intolerance comes from, and that's why people stay with themselves, because the self-appreciation, the self-value, the self-love, and I mean the positive self-love, not the egoistic one and narcissistic one, is very seldom. It's very rare that people really truly appreciate themselves. We are so trained so much to feel guilty about the wrong things we did, or that we are not looking the way as everything expects us to look or speak or whatever it is. So we always highlight our shortcomings, but we do not really appreciate who we truly are.
Do you have a DVD teaching us how to do that? How to learn to love ourselves?
I have to work on that one.
Yeah, that would be good.
The important is not so much how to love yourself. The important is to realize that you are love. Think about it. You don't really need that self-love. Once you realize that you are made in the image of the divinity, which is love or light, and you exactly like that images, you are love and light, and that is your essence, and that is who you are, you don't really need even the self-love anymore. Once you realize who you truly are, your amazing creation by the amazing creator, there is no love necessary anymore, because you are just totally shining.
It seems
it's
people have that, who seem that, are the ones who seem that they're at peace with everything, the ones who have that, achieve that. They just, you can see
It's
an
hard
inner
to
peace
achieve it,
about
but
them,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we have it sometimes at periods in life, we have that, and then it goes away. But the other important thing, I think, why loneliness isn't important is a positive thing, is because it reminds us to listen to our soul. I think that is very important, because I remember when I was, I got a letter recently from England, a lady, she was 40, she said, and she isn't mated, no friend, and so on. She has a lot to give, but I just can't find a partner. So I wrote a long letter back, and it also says, look, from my own experience, I was alone for most of my life. I only married when I was 50. And the period when I was alone was a period when I had the most intense relationship with divinity, because I was on my own. I could communicate or meditate whenever I wanted and so on. But the moment I had a family and kids, the time for this and the occasion for this was much less possible.
Mm-hmm.
So appreciate the time you are on your own. It's a magnificent period to really come down, to meditate, to pray, and listen to your inner voice, listen to your inner guidance. So that, I think, is loneliness, or living alone, or being alone. This is one of the wonderful things to appreciate in the fact of being. Loneliness is, of course, a concept, is a perception of a state, and but being alone is something which I think is very healthy. To a degree, of course, we have to mix with that, but we need to be at the time to be alone to reconnect.
So
I think I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I think it's good to schedule time, your alone time. Like I like my alone time sometimes when
Yes.
I've just got the house to myself, and I can do things that I can concentrate on things that are important to me. And I think that my husband should have his alone time too, because that's the time when you think best, when there's no other interactions and you can get in touch with yourself.
You can go a step further if you're alone, and it really communicate, speak with divinity all the time, speak loud with God. I mean, people may think you're crazy, but that's their problem, not yours. But once you do this, you are totally in the here and now. And you find, when you start off, I just feel a little bit irritated, etc., within half an hour, you suddenly realize, you tell yourself what the reason is. Because by verbalizing is very different than thinking things through. The thinking goes very fast, and we don't pay attention, but when we verbalize our thoughts, by communicating with divinity, then we sort of speak much slower. And when we speak much slower, we come to a very different conclusion, and we recognize different things. It's a very different process, and I found it very helpful.
So if we're feeling bad or upset about something, or upset about ourselves, or what, we should say it out loud, like we're talking to
It's one way. I'm not saying should. There are no shoulds, what I think, but it's a suggestion.
No, but I'm saying, yeah, right.
If you
it's
can
a
do
suggestion.
that. Some people like to sing hymns. It's the same thing. To verbalize, to bring the body into it. Because once you do this, you are not thinking about your neighbors or whatever it is, or the person who isn't with you. You're speaking with divinity. Mm-hmm. And it's a very different kind of form of communication. And all the things, the worldly stuff disappears, and slowly disappears from your frame of mind. And you're focusing on yourself and divinity. And the whole vibration lifts. And out of this also comes the closeness and the connection. And suddenly you just wonder, why the hell was I ever lonely? Because once you start communicating aloud, that's the difference between thinking something through and speaking something through. There's a major difference in how it works for us, for our psyche.
Meditating is a good thing.
Meditating,
Learning to
sure,
meditate,
yeah.
Right, to be quiet and to listen and to,
Yes.
yeah. That is so important to do that.
But very few people can really do the quietness in meditation. It takes a long time to really quiet and listen. So what I then say is, start talking, start in a loud prayer, not what you want, all the things, but just start with gratefulness. Speak to divinity. I thank you for this day. I thank you for standing up. Thank you that my bones are okay. So thank you to have a good hair date or whatever it is. List it up. List it all. The gratefulness. You get out of the loneliness of everything very quickly when you just suddenly start count your blessings, and do this in a prayer. Not just want God, I want this, I want a partner, I want this, I want a new car, etc. Not that kind of prayer. A communication of appreciation, of love, and of gratefulness.
I think a lot of people don't really realize or know how to pray. They think, like when I was younger, I used to think that you didn't talk. If you just thought it in your mind, he would hear it, you know. And I've been told recently by more than one person that you should speak aloud, like you were saying when you talk, and voice how you are grateful for what's going on in your life, so that you focus more on that than on other things that are bothering you. One of the things I get from people is how to get there. Like, some people don't have a very strong faith, or they don't even know what to do with their faith. And
With their faith?
with their faith, yeah, they don't understand it. Like, there's a lot of questions people have because they don't know what they've been preached to or taught by certain churches, and then they don't feel like that's comfortable, but then they don't know where to go. And I went through a thing last year where a lot of change happened in a very short period of time, which left me feeling lonely and confused and not sure what to do with myself. And so that's when I decided to go back to church. But when we were at the service, they have, I think it's maybe every couple of weeks, they have a lot of the pastors and people get up in the front of the church, and if you want to come up, they pray for you. They put their hands on you and they pray for you. And I was feeling so bad, I didn't know what else to do, so I found this church and I went, and I went up when they called people up, and these two women put their hands on me and they just started praying, and out of nowhere I started sobbing, and all of it came out. And after that, I felt great. I felt like at peace, and I felt great, and it's continuing.
Yeah.
It hasn't gone away. I still feel good.
Yeah,
I still
just
feel
to
good.
know that other people are really on your vibration. But this is what your guardian angel is doing, the same thing. You don't have to go to the church. You can do it at home, because he or she is next to you in the same vibration, knows exactly what is needed.
Right.
So if you are a Christian, the divinity with Christ is the same thing.
I don't think too many people understand that, though, and I think it's a step in the direction people like to be touched.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I think
Sure.
that's an important
Yeah.
thing before they get to that point where they can be okay with doing it at home. I think people need the touch. They need the hug. They need the...
Sure.
I like going to church because everybody hugs everybody.
So this is another thing. If we feel lonely and you realize that it is actually the physical connection which I'm missing, so it's not easy when we feel lonely, but this is exactly what we can do to give to others.
And then
Find somebody
eventually...
else who is lonely, and be with that person who you think may need some time was on their own, and so on. When we really get out of our own kind of rut and try who can I help now, and who can I be of service to, and so on. If it's a hug or time, whatever it is, to have time for somebody else is already a very precious gift.
And you eventually learn through spirituality how you can do what you say and connect with yourself. When you say higher mind, you mean like a higher consciousness level?
The higher consciousness, yeah, but that would be one way to saying it, yeah. Your higher self, your higher mind, higher self, which is sort of the part of you which knows exactly what's good for you, where you should be going, and sort of like somebody on the mountaintop sees your path or in advance where you go. And if you connect to that one, you can always have sort of guidance and find guidance. They have a better overview. We are on the lower part. Our ego is on the lowest part and sees only what's just 2 feet in front of us. But the higher mind knows the whole picture, knows our whole life journey, why we incarnated, what is our purpose with different people and different situations. And if we meditate and so on and reconnect with divinity, or higher mind, higher self, Christ, or whatever it is, we have moments of a reflection and might find an answer why a certain situation is there for us, because all the situations are tools for homecoming. There are no real problems, there are only opportunities for growth. But we don't see them once we are right smack in them.
Yeah, right. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
That's a very good way.
And a lot of people like to escape these kind of things, and that's when we come to suicide and so on, when there is no more hope, when they don't know anymore what to do, and so totally hopeless. And they says the only way I can see out of this situation is to check out, and hopefully that there is nothing after this, and I'm done with this suffering.
Well, a lot of people believe that you return to dust and there's no reincarnation. There's nothing after, so the suffering will be over, and that's that. But a lot of people say, you know, I hear you talking to me, I hear you saying this, I hear you saying that, but how do I get there? I don't know how to get there from where I am now. I don't know how to get past that. So that's why I say, well, if you can't sit and meditate, or you don't feel you have that connection that you know that Hans is talking about in the video, then maybe find a church and find the connection. At least find somewhere to start.
Right.
To start
Your church is the best because it's non-denominational and it doesn't preach a certain way to do things. It just encompasses everything.
love,
right?
love
and
from
yes.
God, love from
If you're
Jesus.
going to do a church, I would say that would be the best kind.
I never, before I went to church, wholeheartedly believed that God loved me as much as He does. And then, and being there for a year now, I've never felt better.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Whatever helps, whatever gets you to it. That's the thing. It's just like we talked about before, when you follow blindly someone, that's not right. That part, that can lead you astray. Well, we can show the second. Do you have any more questions on this? Because we can go on to the next one.
I think I touched everything I wrote down.
All right, then we'll show the second video on suicide. And as soon as the control room gets it up there.
Hi, I'm Wilhelm, and in this video in the Life Explained series, I would like to talk a little bit about suicide. Thoughts about suicides are not as unusual as one might think. Many people have thought about it at one time or another in their lives. And as human beings here on earth, we sometimes go through situations which seem to be unbearable or even hopeless. And it's only natural for us to have the desire to escape these situations. And if you find yourself in such a predicament or know somebody who is struggling with thoughts of suicide, allow me to share with you the spiritual perspective. Because that's what we are. We are spiritual beings who are having a time-space experience here on earth. Let's look at what happens before we came to earth. As a soul, we were given the great gift of incarnating in this lifetime to planet Earth. But before we were born, we discussed and planned the basic outline of our future life here on Earth. We did this together with our spiritual guides. We discussed what we wanted to learn, to heal, or to give during our future life. This is our future life on Earth. And according to our own intentions, we made sure that certain conditions were put in place that gives us these opportunities. You see, our future life was outlined like a riverbed, and the rapids and turns and twists are the challenges or obstacles for our growth, or for service, or for healing. And when we're here on earth, we have to apply our free will to overcome and master these hurdles successfully. So prior to our birth, we have consciously chosen to experience these situations that will challenge us and make us grow. They were lovingly created by us and for us, for the benefit of our soul and the purpose of our journey here on earth. We actually wanted them, and we have wholeheartedly agreed to these experiences, even knowing that they can be very difficult. And in some cases, we may even have made a contract with another soul who loves us very much to incarnate with us, a contract here. So to incarnate with us, for us here, for instance here, to give us these difficult experiences, all for our own benefit and growth. Now, once we are here on earth, we don't remember any of this. Any obstacle or problem that we have to face seems to come out of the blue, and we often feel victimized by them. But all these challenges were pre-arranged by us. And if we now would commit suicide, we would break all these agreements. And we know that everything that we do in life has consequences. And in the case of suicide, these are straightforward. Firstly, as we have cut our lessons here on earth short, we eventually will have to come back to finish this class. That means we have to do the whole thing over again. We have to be born again, grow up in a similar environment, and finally facing the very same difficulty that we try to escape from. Nobody will forcing us to come back and finish our class. It will be our own free will and desire to experience the same choice point and making a different decision because we know it will be for our benefit. Secondly, a human being As human beings, we are never given more than we can chew. The difficulties that we are facing are always adjusted to our strength. We may think that the present circumstances are beyond our endurance, but they are not. We can pull through this. As a rule, we are always much stronger than we think we are. Here's our Arnold Schwarzenegger. And we don't have to do it alone. And this is the best part. The spiritual world is only too eager to help us. Whether we ask God, Christ, or our guardian spirit here, it doesn't matter. Everyone is on our side. All we have to do is ask. But let's not ask for a specific outcome, but only ask for guidance and strength. We leave it up to God, how He will help us. He knows the bigger picture and always knows what will be the best for us. Remember the words, "Thy will be done." Let's surrender to these words. Let's meditate on these words. Let them vibrate through us. They are very, very powerful. Now, the third consequence for a soul that commits suicide is the possible stage of limbo. Now, this is an interesting state of waiting. This is where the soul could be lingering on in the spiritual world until the actual date of the originally planned death, which is here probably, would take place. This can be a very lonely, long and boring time. Do we want to face that? Besides, we will encounter ourselves on the other side, and the energies of all the troubles that we wanted to escape from are still with us. And the fourth consequence is the fact that our suicide will hurt others. They will feel sad and heartbroken. All our actions affect the world around us. Or the pain and sorrow that we inflict on others through our suicide, we will feel intensely on the other side. Now finally, let us look at our present difficult situation. We may think it is hopeless, but can we know for sure that this is true? Think about it. Can we know for sure that things will not change eventually? The only constant in this universe is change, and therefore no situation, even the bleakest one, will stay the same. We may feel like walking into a deep valley, and it gets darker and darker, but eventually we are coming to the lowest point and will walk upwards towards the light again. Have we ever wondered why God allowed us to come here on earth? Our life on earth is a gift that God gave us. It is sacred. We shouldn't throw it back into His face. We are a magnificent spiritual being created in the image of God, and we are surrounded by spiritual beings who deeply love us and are eager to help us and assist us in any crisis. They want us to succeed. They are on our side. Let us allow them to guide us through this period. We will be amazed about ourselves, of how much stronger and wiser we have become once we have passed this challenge. And we might be able to give strength and hope to those who are on the verge of giving up.
Wow, that's suicide. I wanted to ask you, a question came up when this was on. We had talked a little bit about this, and you had said that a lot of people responded to this video on suicide.
The second most watched video in my whole series of 40 videos.
Yeah, and I two-part question. I wonder why that was, and I wondered if when people think that they want to commit suicide, the reasons, are they mostly the same for everyone? Or what did you find in that?
I don't know why. It's a sad realization. I was surprised myself of all the videos that this was the second most picked video.
I can't answer that, but I believe that everybody has its individual reasons why they want to.
Right.
Maybe illness, maybe relationship, maybe hopelessness, maybe financial problems, maybe family drama. I think that there are as many people commit suicide as there are as many reasons, and each one from their perspective is valid to make that step.
Wow, and they think that kind of thing is really...
Because many people believe that after death there is no longer any existence, so we
Yeah.
are over with all the pain. But the difference between a regular death, a normal death, and suicide is that in a normal death, the next life is very different. It can be on this plane, it can be on Earth, it can be somewhere else. But if we commit suicide, we are having a repeat. We're having exactly the same life again.
Right? Yeah.
So that's the only big difference.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't matter if we come suicide. Eventually, we all come back, return to home again. It's just a detour, which is a detour where we have to basically do this route twice. And do we really want to do it? And that's a big question that we have just said. If we have to face the same situation, and these situations, as bleak as they may appear, are the ones which we have personally, from our higher self, chosen to face in this lifetime, because we knew that we have the strength to pull through.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the one thing which she told me about when I was younger, because I went through a lot of strife and troubles and issues with my stepfather and all that. That was the one thing that probably kept me from suicide, was her saying, if you do it, you're going to have to come back and do it all over again.
Your mom said that?
She did.
Oh,
That's the one thing
woman.
I'm like, I'm not doing this again. No way. Once is good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Good, you listened. Yeah. I think it's tough for
There were
teenagers.
tough times,
Yeah.
and you know, and it would be like you'd think about ending it, and then you'd think about, I'm not coming back, and so let's push on. Let's
Yeah.
push through. Do you think that every situation that we go through is something that we set up? Every situation, or do you think sometimes the way the earth moves and things like that, that sometimes things change? I wondered about that.
Nothing is 100% forever. Every rule has got its exceptions. But we can say that virtually, we can assume that everything that we're facing, we have created. There may be some situations where we sometimes get into which were not planned. It is very rare and very unusual that we get affected by it. But I would say, take it for granted that the situation you're having right now, which you do not like and hate and so on, is the one which you have chosen, and for your own good. For your own good. It's just like a sportler, just sort of who runs a hurdle, sprinter or whatever. He puts a hurdle there to jump. I mean, he could run without the hurdles and so on. It would be much easier. But the fun is to have these hurdles. Or when you swim,
a good
it's
analogy.
a fun. You swim through the water. Of course, if the pool empty, you would be faster. But with the water, it's an obstacle which you like to overcome. And once you have overcome it, you are stronger. And life is very much the same thing. These little hurdles, which are the difficulties, are there to make us strong. They're not to break us, but to make us.
That's a good analogy. That is something people should remember. Once you do it, you conquered it, you've done it. It's done, it's over.
Not only that, as I said in my video, then you are able to help other people. It is very often the helpers like yourself and others who have gone through very difficult life situations, which made them to decide, I now want to give what I know and what I have gone through to others and help them. So it is a wonderful way of growing and also being more available for others. If we don't have any challenges at all, we become so self-absorbed. We just only watch YouTube channel or whatever it is for the whole day long or whatever it is. It's just nothing. We became nothing. It's just a waste of time. But if we use all the challenges and how we grow from it and serve and help other people through it, I think that's very rewarding and very helpful in our purpose.
I realized that a lot of people that came to me for spiritual therapy and all that were people who are going through what I went through. God only sent me the people who He knew that I had the experience in.
Every therapist gets only the people they need to have.
Yeah.
Every therapist. It's a therapist's problems attracts the type of people
And
for
that's how
them
you
to
can help
recognize.
them. Because I remember once, Christ said, you can't help somebody with something you don't know nothing about, no, you have not experienced yourself. But once you've experienced it, you can really help. Yeah.
Right.
That
was
is
also
terrific.
the purpose why apparently you went through this most horrific thing of being sort of nailed on the cross and so on. I mean, we can't imagine the pain, the suffering from it. But once you have grown through that one, you really are compassionate for other people's problem.
It's sort of, in a way, it takes the poor me out of the equation. It takes the, why did this happen to me? Why did I deserve this? And all that stuff out of the equation. And, I mean, she used to tell me, because you guys went through these classes a long time ago when I was much younger, and she used to tell me that I went through a situation of abuse, and she used to say that, this was set up. You decided on this. And I'm like, I didn't decide on this. There's no way. Poor me, this happened to me, and I'm angry, and I want to kill this person. And she's like, yeah, but you said this. There was no way I was ever going to believe that. It took me a long time to come into a part where I believe that, and now I actually feel bad for hating this person almost my whole life, because now you say I set a contract to go through this so I could be stronger on the other side, but yet I held it against this person the whole life. Now I feel like I'm in, like, how do I say, well, geez, I'm sorry. I'm sorry too, because I signed this contract with you. Are we going to be square on when we get to the other side? I don't hate you anymore.
It's wonderful that you realize
it took a long time.
It's very rare.
40-something years to realize that.
Yeah.
It's called the victim mentality.
Yeah.
As long as we think we're victims, we can never grow.
We never are victims, no. But God only sends us angels. And an abuser is an angel. It sounds horrible to say that and so on. How can you say that? But in a way, it's an angel. And doing the very thing we are doing to ourselves. Somebody who abuses me is something doing what I do to myself. I abuse myself. The outside world always reflects to me what goes within on me. If I don't love myself, someone else comes to me and shows me not to love me and so on, that hurts me and what hits me and whatever it is. That is something, because I've done it to myself. So this angel comes into my life, the law of projection. I don't know whether you had this video already, the law of projection.
I
don't think so. No, that doesn't sound familiar.
It covers this in great detail and so on, that very often we see the bad people out there, but the bad people are just only there to come as our mirrors.
Yeah.
And they take on a very difficult role. They become, as you say, before you incarnate, very often the soul, a very close one, it can be partner, can be brother, sister. They can choose to become an alcoholic so that we learn something from it, of maybe not become an alcoholic. They take the role of the suffering of becoming or an abuser so that we learn. So that is how much love they do to incarnate as what we would call a negative person or whatever it is, so that we wake up from our kind of sleep. So all the people who come to our life are waking us up, basically. They're there to wake us up, and they're there to help us, even if they physically abuse us and hurt us and torture us.
Is it true, and I've heard it said before, that if you don't forgive someone for what has happened, that they can't move on, that they get stuck?
You both can't move on.
Oh, okay.
You both can't move on.
Well, I know, because you carry
because
all
you're
that.
tied together. Only forgiveness sets you free. And as long as you feel, and the reason why we very often not forgive, because we want to feel superior. I want to hold that person. That doesn't deserve forgiveness. And whom am I really holding back? Myself. So that forgiveness is a prime thing to do on a spiritual path. We have to, whether we want it or not, but we have to totally, and we do the forgiveness for ourselves, to become free.
To become free. I never understood that till this past year.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It really is. It's amazing.
But now I feel like I've held him up as well.
No, you have done just the right thing.
Don't feel guilty
He
about
needed to
that.
learn that too, not to be forgiven for a while. So you don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everything was fine. Eventually, you just broke through it, and some takes longer. Don't worry
It's a
about
hard
it. Don't
thing
feel
to
like
learn.
guilty. You just made the step now, and just be grateful that you understand this very important dynamic in life, that we are never ever victims, ever.
I never ever wanted to believe that. And I
It's
wanted
very
to-
comforting to know, oh, poor me, oh,
I
how
wanted to
did
hold
they
on
do
to that.
this, and so on, etc., etc.
I don't know why you want to choose to hold on to anger, but it's a hard thing to let go, and it's a hard thing to teach people that you're not a victim. It's because I learned it. It was hard for me to learn, so I know it's hard.
You can't really say it, really. I mean, we do it in this program, we do it on the video, and the people will take offense and so on. I mean, recently
Right.
in South Carolina, some of the people said right away, I forgive you, and then
wasn't that nice?
on television they says, how can they
Yes.
do it? I
How
can't
can
forgive
they-
them.
yeah.
Yeah.
They don't understand that the person forgave them to become free himself or herself, so that they
right.
don't carry this on forever. It was a soul cleansing for themselves. But the others in the media wanted to hold, how can you forgive, and so on, and bad, and so on, let them off
Drama,
so
drama.
easily, and so on. No, you're binding yourself
Exactly.
unnecessarily to that person who has already hurt you by taking a loved one away out of your life. That's
It's
what
hard
the Amish did right away. Remember, there was they burnt a schoolhouse with 7 girls in it, I think, and the first thing the Amish was to invite the wife of the person who burnt the house down and so on for their service, for healing and so on, the forgiveness. The first thing is forgiveness. Forgiveness, forgiveness, the first thing. We have forgotten the importance of forgiveness. We are, unfortunately, a country which loves revenge, and that's why our whole system of
we
laws,
are.
the criminal system is all revenge, 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 and we hurt ourselves that way. And we see nothing. We have not changed anybody. We've incarcerated more people than any other country in the world, and
Really?
it's a sad situation in our life. But because we want revenge, and revenge is basically nothing else than our sign of impatience. If I do something wrong, if I steal from you, this will come back to me. Whether the law now locks me up as a thief, or even I don't get locked up, the same lesson will come back to me. That is the law of karma, and nobody can escape it. So there is basically never any need to punish anybody or to lock anybody up, unless he is for a nuisance for everybody, a painful way. But it is automatically, everybody has to see whatever reaps what they have sown, without exception.
But we're in a society of instant gratification.
It is, yes, it's our gratification. There, now you got the right thing. And so, yeah, very easily.
Right away we want, bam, they did that wrong, bam, they should be killed, or they should
So
be
do we have
punished.
anything still on suicide? What any thought? Do we have still any, Dina?
When you said thy will be done, you mean thy will as in God's will be done, or your will, God's
when
will
you
be done?
when you surrender, because as long as I have this problem before me, and I try everything to solve it. Let's say I'm terminally ill, or I have no money, or my love broke up, or whatever. There's something dreadful, and I think in my mind it can only be fixed by he or she has to come back, or I have to have money, or I have to be healthy. So my mind, my ego, finds a solution for the situation. And it doesn't work that way. We want to have the life certain in a way how we believe it should be, and it doesn't become that way. It's our fantasy. When we then surrender, and then thy will done, because God knows exactly what we need. Maybe we need more money, or partner, or what health. It may be something totally different. It comes from a totally different source. When we surrender and take off our ego fantasy of how things should be, then we are open to see all the possibilities which suddenly may be there we have never seen before. Because, like for instance, when we are suddenly people commit suicide because their loved ones is leaving them, whatever, the end of the world, and they only think about this one person has to come back. And that is the solution from the ego. But the higher self may say, wow, there may be some other things. Someone else may come in. You still have your family. You still have your kids, your parents, or whatever it is. You still have your dog, or whatever it is. You are not necessarily focused on depending on this one person. But we cannot see this if we are only concentrated on how we think this problem should be solved. But when we surrender, like thy will be done, which is totally unknown to me, and I to surrender that only the best would happen to me, we are open to see the 1,000 possibilities.
You know, and there are ways of committing suicide without actually committing suicide, because that's what happened with my son. He was disappointed in life, the way things turned out for him, very disappointed. And he had so many talks telling what I told you about, you know, doing it over. I told him the same thing.
He didn't grasp
if you do
it,
it,
though.
you're going to have to, you know. And so he turned to liquor, and he turned to some drugs and this and that and the other to help ease the pain that he was feeling. When I know that if I could have just got, if you can just have, I don't know how, but somehow
he lost a lot of friends. He watched a lot of friends die, and I think it took a major toll on him.
That too, yeah. All of that, he couldn't cope. When he lost his dog, I said, "You'll get another one." He said, "I don't want another. I want that dog." Just like what you said, I want that dog, and that's when I knew how he was. Just what you said, not being able to let go.
But so many people
It's very difficult. I mean, how do you tell people where to get started? How to feel that? I don't know how to tell people how to get started.
Well, we have to face the situation that the majority of people in this country and everywhere else is on a suicide trip. Because the way we live, knowingly, we pollute the water, we don't do anything about it, we eat bad food, we are a diabetic is a typical sign of knowingly doing the wrong thing to our body with food. It's like it used to be only cigarettes, but while we do that, and we eat junk food, we know it's not good. We do all the things with the alcohol or whatever it is. We know all the things as adding to our doing less, how do I say, bringing our death closer to things. We're doing a slow suicide. The suicide person who does suicide is the only honest one. He does it boom. But we do it slowly in our society, which means that deep down, not everybody wants to really live either. We take drugs in the evening, we go home to watch television all night long or all day long or whatever. We take drugs, whatever, legal or illegal or whatever it is, alcohol, etc., or computer games, anything to escape our life. So very few people really are strong enough to really enjoy life, live life, and embrace life. We find a lot of easy ways, and there is a lot of temptation to get out of life for a few hours, for a little time, and so on. And most of it is harmful to our psyche and to our body.
Is there a way to heal that? I mean, to teach children while they're young to be more present, to learn how to enjoy life more? I mean, you're subject of who your parents are and what they teach you as well, but I mean, is there a way to help people and to start when they're younger? People ask me, I sometimes try to talk to people and they're like, well, where do I get started? How do I change how I feel? Where do I go? What do I do? And it's like, I don't have those answers. Just as I don't know how this happened to me, it just came to me. It just came of hearing it, but also just eventually finding some peace.
You went through a very tough lesson.
Yeah.
Where you finally had to say it's either this way or the other way. You really was, and I'm afraid most people learn through pain. We have two ways to learn, through insight or through pain. And the majority of us chooses always pain. We understand that smoking isn't good, but we still smoke, and a lot of other things. We understand that junk food is bad, etc. We still do it. We do. The insight is there, but we need the pain. And the doctor says it's late or very late. Change. Then some of us may change, and a lot of them even then don't change. So it is the pain or the insight, and we have in the spiritual path. The spiritual laws are all the laws of insight. What I show in my videos, these are spiritual laws. I call them homecoming laws, basically, because they all have one message: to return to divinity again. And we can ignore them, or we don't. But if we listen to them and try to live them as much as we can, we avoid so many problems, and we just sort of immediately become much more lighter and more satisfied with ourselves and more happy with ourselves. The laws are all there, and the basic laws are the Ten Commandments and the Sermon on the Mount, and most people know them, something about it, and so on. Or the Golden Rule. Take the Golden Rule alone is already worth living. And then the other thing is what the Dalai Lama says: mindful kindness, loving kindness, and loving kindness. Whatever we do is a loving kindness. And once we do these very simple things, which we know, our life becomes easier and easier.
We have to stop.
Oh, we have to stop. Okay. We have another time.
Yes, we need more time.
I'd like to do
There's
that
so
law
much
of
to teach.
projection in the next
Yeah, let's give out the contact information, and then if there's any time left, we'll talk a little bit more. They put that up on the screen. For more information about Healing Outside the Box, contact me, Rosemary Lachance, at 203-627-7966, or email whitebuffalo8@comcast.net, or write NHTV, 127 Washington Avenue, North Haven, Connecticut. And look for us on Facebook. And information for Hans, to get in touch with Hans, phone is 203-222-9341. His email is hans@hanswilhelm.com. And the website for Life Explained is www.lifeexplained.com. Yes, there's so much more. I mean, somehow, some way, we have to be able to help the people to get through somehow.
Let's try to be the good example.
Yes, we will. We will try to be the good example. We'll do the best that we can. Anyway, we have to say good night now. Hans,
Good
thank
night,
you so
Rosemary. It was
much.
wonderful.
Thank you.
It was great to see you again.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.